Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Amityville Union Free School District Combined Board of Education meeting, January 21st, 2026. I am opening the meeting at 5:41 p.m. In attendance at the meeting tonight is myself, the board president, Lisa Johnson, my second vice president, Chris Nairn, trustees Leslie Kretz, as well as trustee Carol Seahoff. It is anticipated that first vice president Juan Leon, as well as trustee Megan Meskin, will be attending the meeting. Also in attendance at the meeting tonight is our superintendent, Dr. Gina Talbot, our assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction, Larry Stevens, our director of human resources, Dr. Landau, and our interim assistant superintendent of business and finances, Mr. Snyder, as well as our legal counsel, John Shealy, is also in attendance at this point in time. Can I have a motion to enter into executive session for particular person's employment history, as well as update on grievances from the AAA and advice from counsel? So moved. Second. Carol Seahoff is first. Leslie Kretz is second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. It's anticipated that we resume open at 7:30. Thank you for joining us.
Meeting January 21st, 2026. We are resuming open now at 7:47. And sorry for the delay in the opening. At this point in time, please note where the emergency exits are. And there's no smoking on school grounds. And if you can kindly silence your cell phone during the meeting, it would be appreciated. Please join the Board of Education in the Pledge of Allegiance. At this point in time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Dr. Talbot.
Thank you, President Johnson, and good evening to once again to our President Johnson, trustees, faculty, staff, parents, and students, scholars, and members of the Amityville community. I am pleased to share several highlights from across the district. Amityville Memorial High School recently hosted a very successful career fair for our seniors. Throughout the day, students engaged directly with professionals representing a wide range of industries. Career representatives shared their career journeys, discussed industry expectations, and answered students' questions. This experience provided our seniors with meaningful, real-world exposure and helped them better envision their post-secondary and career pathways. Recently, our 8th grade students participated in a field trip to Anne Frank. The exhibition, this powerful learning experience, aligns with their curricular study of the Diary of Anne Frank and supports the New York State Education Department's initiatives. At the elementary level, Park Elementary students explored the world of work during a field trip to Commerce Plaza in Levittown. This experience helps students make early connections between classroom learning and careers, reinforcing the importance of real-world applications. Instructionally, this month, Ms. Stevens, Dr. Kimbler, and I met with the high school leadership team to review progress on their action plan to build a strong culture of learning, one in which educators are encouraged to take thoughtful instructional risks. Our visit included classroom observations, a review of data, and a productive discussion of next steps to continue strengthening teaching and learning. In addition, our leadership team participated in instructional walkthroughs at Northwest Elementary School, focusing on Danielson domains 2 and 3. classroom environment, and instruction. Principals and directors engaged in a robust professional dialogue around their observations and collaboratively developed an action plan to support the wonderful work that is going on at Northwest. I would also like to commend our high school jazz band, which includes middle school scholars, for their outstanding performance at Monday's community-hosted MLK program. Their musicianship added great meaning to the event. In other words, Amityville shined. Our student scholars performed exceptionally well. Congratulations as well to Mr. Abate, who was recognized with an award for his exceptional musical leadership and service. Also, congratulations to Dr. Pauline Collins, principal of Northeast, who received a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Award this weekend in recognition of her dedication and service to the students and families of Amityville. Dr. Collins, if you're with us, would you please stand? This honor is well deserved. And finally, Regents examinations are ongoing this week at the high school. As we support our students through testing, I want to congratulate our staff and students on notable academic gains from last year's Regents exams, particularly in Algebra 1, Living Environment, Algebra 2, Global History, Earth Science, and United States History. These improvements reflect the hard work of our students, teachers, and leaders. And last but not least, if you would like to join our Community Parent Square group, you may do so by clicking on the link located on the homepage of our district website. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us and for being here with us on this evening. And that concludes the superintendent's report. At this time, I'll ask Ms. Stevens to join me for our staff and student recognition. Tonight's recognition is one of the most favorite aspects of our work here in Amityville, to celebrate our student scholars and our staff for going beyond the call of duty to showcase excellent role models to others, academic improvement, great character, and just making Amityville a delightful place to work and to learn. At this time, we are going to acknowledge those who have been selected by their respective buildings, and we want you to shout them out and celebrate them and make them feel really great about making Amityville a special place. At this time, Ms. Stevens will do the acknowledgement.
Thank you, Dr. Talbert. It is my privilege to announce the students and staff of the month. I do invite you to review the full nomination narratives on the handouts in the back of the room and join me as we honor their hard work and the positive impact they all make on our district. We begin tonight with our staff of the month, starting at the high school. Rebecca Feehan consistently demonstrates exceptional hard work and dedication to our high school community. She goes above and beyond in supporting testing preparation, particularly in ensuring that students with special education needs and accommodations are thoughtfully and thoroughly supported. Ms. Feehan is always willing to step in, assist wherever needed, and provide guidance to both staff and students. Her positive attitude, professionalism, and genuine commitment to helping others make her an invaluable member of our school staff. Congratulations, Ms. Behan. There is a big check here for Ms. Behan. From our middle school, Heidiver Morales has transitioned to Miles seamlessly as a new staff member and has quickly become an invaluable part of the school community. He is a true team player who collaborates willingly with colleagues and consistently puts students first. Mr. Morales has built positive, meaningful relationships with both students and staff, creating a welcoming, supportive environment in his daily interactions. His dedication, flexibility, and genuine care for our students reflect the spirit and values of Miles, making him highly deserving of the Staff of the Month recognition. Congratulations, Mr. Morales. From the Park Avenue Memorial Elementary School, Sharon Gomez is more than a school monitor. She's a powerhouse who makes an extraordinary difference in the school community. Our students feel safe, valued, and supported each day because of her. When the bus returns a student after school, Ms. Gomez handles it. When we need a float for homecoming, Ms. Gomez handles it. Her work embodies our spirit. Congratulations, Ms. Gomez. From the Northwest Elementary School, Axa Golan. Axa is Northwest Staff Member of the Month, and she plays an instrumental role in our school community, going far beyond the responsibilities of her role to ensure our students, families, and staff feel supported and valued. Whenever interpretation support is needed to communicate with a student's family, Ms. Golan happily steps in to assist. Her support strengthens relationships, builds trust, and helps ensure clear communication for all. Ms. Golan is truly a pleasure to work with and brings positivity and professionalism to everything she does. Congratulations, Ms. Golan. From the Northeast Elementary School, Lisa Ayanada. Northeast commends Miss Ayanada for her outstanding dedication and service to the Amityville School District. Miss Ayanada began her journey at Northeast as a student teacher, and through commitment and excellence, secured a position as a kindergarten teacher, where she has continued to grow and thrive. With many years of experience and a strong commitment to personal and professional development, Ms. Ayanada stands today as a master teacher and a leader among her peers. Congratulations, Ms. Ayanada. And now for our students of the month, starting with the Amityville Memorial High School, Jeffrey Navarrete. Jeffrey is a standout ninth grade student who is truly stepping into his role as a leader. He consistently demonstrates incredible school spirit and takes pride in being an active, positive presence in our school community. As a member of the marching band and the ninth grade class, Jeffrey shows commitment, teamwork, and responsibility, both in and out of the classroom. His dedication to academics is equally impressive, as evidenced by his placement on the high honor roll. Jeffrey is a wonderful asset to the school, and his leadership potential continues to shine. Congratulations, Jeffrey. From the Edmund W. Miles Middle School, Carlos Escobar. Carlos was chosen as Miles Student of the Month in recognition of his outstanding academic achievement and positive contributions to our school community. Carlos is a high-achieving student who consistently demonstrates dedication to his studies, particularly in Algebra 1, where he willingly tutors and supports his classmates. He is a true team player, always patient and encouraging as he helps others build confidence and understanding. Congratulations, Carlos. From the Park Avenue Memorial Elementary School, Valeria Leonardo Saguero. Valeria is a kind, responsible, and motivated student who always puts forth her best effort. She is an active member of the Liberty Partnerships program, which supports students through mentoring and enrichment opportunities. And she is also involved in chorus because she loves singing and music. Math is her favorite subject, and she enjoys challenging herself and learning new skills. Valeria is always willing to help her classmates and shows genuine care for others, making her a positive role model in our school community. Congratulations, Valeria. From the Northwest Elementary School, Josfrani Villegas Bastidas. Josfrani is the Student of the Month. She arrived in the United States about 2 years ago from Venezuela and has shown incredible dedication, perseverance, and enthusiasm as she adapts to a new language, new culture, and new lifestyle. Josfrani gives her best every day. She pays close attention, participates in all activities, and consistently demonstrates a positive attitude toward learning. She is a wonderful role model for her classmates. Josfrani has made remarkable progress in all academic areas and continues to grow in confidence and ability. We are extremely proud of her accomplishments and are certain she will continue to achieve great things. She truly embodies the spirit of determination and excellence that Northwest celebrates. Congratulations, Josfrani. From the Northeast Elementary School, Luca Kretz. Luca is a cheerful pre-K student. Luca is a cheerful pre-K student who walks into the classroom each day with a bright smile. He is kind and caring, always noticing when a friend needs help or comfort. He enjoys being a little teacher and happily shows classmates how to complete an activity. He uses friendly words and makes everyone feel welcome and included. Luca is conscientious and tries his best to follow classroom rules and routines. He listens carefully during lessons and takes pride in doing his work. Luca is excited to learn and loves discovering new things each day. He eagerly participates in songs, stories, and hands-on activities. He encourages his friends and celebrates their successes. His kindness, responsibility, and enthusiasm make the classroom a joyful place to be. Congratulations, Luca. Our athletic scholar of the month. I am so honored to share a name with this beautiful young woman, Sage Stevens. Sage was recently named one of Long Island's top 50 cheerleaders. She is also an academic all-county recipient from the Suffolk County Cheerleading Association. She is president of the senior class, a member of the National Honor Society, and the Black Student Union. Congratulations, Sage. Our Fine and Performing Arts Scholar is Caleb Rivera. Caleb is a very responsible young man. He consistently helps with many of our arts-related programs, including assistance with the middle school drama productions and assistance at various evening music and art events. He is highly deserving of this honor based on his classwork and participation with our artistic school community. Congratulations, Caleb. If the honorees could come toward the screen, we'll take a photo with the board. Thank you, everyone.
Once again, on behalf of our Board of Education, thank you. Thank you for being outstanding and making wonderful contributions to the Amityville Union Free School District. So at this time, Mr. Snyder, our interim Assistant Superintendent for Business Finance, will clearly explain how the proposed tax levy was developed, what it supports, and how it aligns with the district's recent progress toward financial stability. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Snyder. You're okay with it being right here? Okay. I know, right? Not as exciting.
Not here for us.
Yeah. Well, they were good. Oh, well.
Take another. Take another.
We'll let the noise dissipate and wait until everybody's ready.
Okay, good evening. I'd like to take the board and the community through the tax levy cap calculation for 26-27. Go into some projections for 10 years for the tax levy, and I'll go into what the data is that supports that. And then briefly talk about the state aid proposal that was published by the governor yesterday. So on the screen, you see the calculation for the 26-27 tax cap. Most of the data is in. I would say there's some minor adjustments that might occur to that 2.23% that's there. You could see that, you know, it's called a 2% cap, but it's really not properly named. One of the variables this year in calculating the tax cap was 2% on inflation, and that's where the name came from. But that data figure hasn't always been 2%. It just happens to be, I think this is the third or fourth year where it has been 2%. What I draw your attention to is the tax base growth factor, which is part of the overall formula at 0.38%. It's actually a healthy indicator for the community that there was $241,000 of new tax rolls that came onto the district's levy. It's actually a healthy sign. It would represent new business or vacant land that gets developed, and it's those properties that actually pay that percentage. It's not the rest of the community. So inherently in saying 2.23% is the levy, it's conservative because 0.36 of it will be picked up by those properties responsible for the growth. That wouldn't be applicable to a regular household that had nothing to do with that growth index. This is the history of tax-based growth factors for Amityville going back. You can see it averages 0.38%, and I use that percentage in my projections. In terms of calculating the capital exemption, which is a major part of the tax cap, I went through this with the Budget Advisory Committee in pretty extensive detail. I'm going to keep it very overview, but if you wanted to see where the district's building aid comes from and how to calculate it, you could simply Google Amityville UFSD state aid. You would arrive at that screenshot, and you can click on that link, and it would take you to a very lengthy report that looks like that, which would give you every single construction project that the district has and what the building aid is on it. The debt for the district has two major bonds out there, which the taxpayers have already approved for. You'll see in the far right column, those numbers also come into play in terms of the net capital exemption. And you'll notice in 2031, the debt drops off a little bit. Later on in the school year, when Dr. Talbot and I start talking about capital planning, that little drop will be something we'll pay attention to because it presents financing opportunities for construction. A lot of numbers here. You could look at them on your own, but this is the actual calculation for the capital exclusion. What it represents, simply stated, is the total debt minus the building aid, because that's the portion of the construction project that the taxpayer is responsible for. So again, just looking at 26-27, you come down to that bottom line number of 2.4 million. That represents what the taxpayers of Amityville are responsible for in terms of construction, and it's very simply the debt less the building aid. Looking at some of the assumptions for a 10-year projection, I used 0.38 for tax-based growth because that is the average. Inflation, I just judgmentally, put those figures up there so you could disagree or argue with it, but I made an assumption that there would be some relief from inflation and it would drop down. I also assumed that pilot payments would remain at 2.1 million. Looking at the projections, I mean, this gives you the calculation that you can look at on your own. That's the first 5 years. That's the remaining 5 years, so 10 in total. I think what's more interesting is looking at it graphically. You could see that the levy remains, and we've talked about this when we talked about tax rates. It remains fairly stable between 2.2%, dropping again in that 31 year down to 1.4. And again, these are projections. If the growth factor changes, if inflation is different, the shape of this graph will shift a little bit. But in general, that is what you're looking at because the debt and the building aid on the current project is already known data. So we'll talk about the 30-31 school year and what could possibly be done there to present a smoother tax levy, if you'll allow me to use that word. Perhaps keep everything right around 2%, and there could be some construction that would take place there. Published in Newsday was the governor's state aid proposal. What you see up on the screen are the exact figures that the governor used in her proposal. She comes down to a 6.6% increase, which, again, it seems like every year business officials stand up here and talk about how these numbers are misleading, because right off the bat, it includes UPK figures, and that's grant money to the district. It's not included in the taxpayer fund. So that large increase on the second line of $667,000 doesn't belong really in the state aid proposal. They've been doing it like this for years, but that's grant funding to the district. And some of the other numbers, foundation aid and transportation aid, we're going to have to take a closer look at once the details come out. And I think in the name of conservative budgeting, we'll probably lower those numbers. So after you remove the UPK and make some adjustments to transportation and foundation aid, I believe when we talk about the district's budget for state aid, it'll land more around 3% when you look at the math. Nice quick presentation. Questions?
Any board members have questions?
Yes. First off, thank you for the presentation. Really appreciate it. With so many variables, how useful is it to look out 10 years, figuring the uncertainty of pilots, the uncertainty of if the average of 0.38% growth factors is less than that? And also, is this assuming that no other debts are added to what we currently have?
Yes to all of those. So,
okay, so within the next 10 years, if the school district and board decide that we need to do a bond,
then these figures would change depending on the levels. And that is something Dr. Talbert and I will be discussing in capital planning as part of the overall goals of the district. But you're right, those tax-based growth factors, I'm keeping it at 0.38 because that's the average. If it's a little higher or a little lower, it would alter the look of that graph. Inflation is capped at 2%. That's the way the formula works. So I think even if it comes in a little bit below it, it likely, sir, is not going to change the shape of that graph. It would change the numbers, but the overall appearance of it, I think, is reasonable in terms of a projection. And we being business officials are required to provide tax levy projections. So certainly the data that I'm using is open for criticism because it's judgmental, but we already know the current debt. This calculation here, we know how much building aid is coming over the next 10 years. We know what our debt payments are. So a major portion of the tax levy calculation is known data. But your point about those other variables could be wrong or could change, especially the pilot payments. I would agree with you. Yeah.
Right, and I mean, also too, we have to also consider political climate. It also depends on who's in power in New York State, and if that has any kind of changes on anything.
If somebody changed the building aid formula, which hasn't happened, that would certainly alter these numbers. It hasn't happened yet, but you're correct. If somebody wanted to change that formula, that would alter these numbers dramatically.
Okay, and then final question, can you go back to that bar graph which was in blue? Can you just take me through your simulated 2030, 2031, and what factors went into that as opposed to the other ones? How did you come up with that?
In 3031, there's a piece of debt that expires and becomes fully paid off, a portion of a bond. And I believe I showed it to you right there. If you look at the far right column, the district's debt service goes from 5,148,000 to 4,622,000. That's what's responsible for the debt.
Understood.
I have a quick question. With the state aid proposal, right? The numbers, and I know you put it down here for UPK, foundation aid and transportation aid. These numbers have increased significantly. But also could mean that it can go down. It does not mean that we're guaranteed. These are just proposed.
They're based on estimates that the state uses in their own formulas. Some of the estimates are based on data that the district submits, but they are based on estimates, some of them. The transportation number, for example, we're projecting in 26, 27 what we're going to spend. And again, remember the large increase in the transportation bid. So we're projecting out what we're going to spend with that increase, and that is what is responsible for that 24.8% increase in transportation. Our estimates could be off. The state estimates could be off. The actual costs could vary differently. We're certainly heading for an increase in transportation aid. We know that, but is it going to be 1 million? I would tell you, in the name of conservative budgeting, and we spoke about this in terms of the surplus, I would say we should probably lower that number, and that would be what I would recommend to the superintendent. And the same goes for foundation aid.
And there's a significant change with the UPK.
Yeah, something to investigate why that number went up so much. We don't have the detailed runs behind the formulas and why that happened, but certainly it'll be interesting why UPK increased dramatically for us. It's good news.
Right.
It's good news for the district in terms of the services, but it doesn't really belong in the general fund taxpayer voted budget.
Thank you. Any other questions or comment from the board? Go ahead.
So, the net capital exclusion is only for capital projects, for facilities, the projects for facilities, and it has nothing to do with programs or anything like that.
Has
Okay.
to do with
So
actual
operations or, okay. Well,
projects. And again, if you look up at that second line, it says perspective on middle school project. That's the,
Right.
I'm giving you my projection there on what the building aid will be on that project. So again, to trustee Leon's point, I'm giving you my estimate of what the
Right.
building aid will be on that project,
thank you.
but it is all actual construction.
Any other questions or comments from any other board members?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Schneider. It was quick, so I'm sitting here and I have some more general questions because I'm kind of going, why are we going through this and how does this relate to, what we want or what the projected budget is going to be for 26, 27?
55% of the district's funding comes from the tax levy. And
Right.
that is, the tax levy will go up 2.23%.
Mm-hmm.
The taxpayers have to absorb that. That's a major piece of what, they're voting on. So I think it's appropriate to show the calculation how we arrive at 2.23%. And
So-
for me to give you a projection of what the tax levy looks like going forward, because strategic planning is something the superintendent and I talk about, that we can't just budget year after year in a vacuum. We have to sort of have an idea of how we think the tax levy is going to land. Again, I'll stand by the shape of that graph and the way it looks. So there's no surprises. There's certainly estimates that we've discussed, but providing tax levy projections is something I'm required to do.
So I guess it just seems, okay, I understand that you're required to do it. It just seems a little out of order, as far as like, you know, what our budget is this year, what do we need the budget to be next year, and then to look at this calculation. And then on top, and the state aid, right? So 68 million for the tax cap, 48 million projected in the state aid,
Yes.
116 million, but this year's budget is 120 million, right?
Well, you.
Round
this year's
numbers.
Yeah, so you have two major components of the revenue budget. You have the projected tax levy,
Right.
and we have a governor's state aid proposal. Again, we have to wait till April for the legislature to decide it, but in this presentation, you have two major factors of our funding.
Mm-hmm.
We have to design a budget that stays within that funding, and we will be talking about preliminary budget estimates likely at the February meeting.
Okay, so if I just can keep going then.
Sure.
So, okay, we're gonna talk about our preliminary budget estimate, but we didn't talk about the potential to use some of the unassigned fund balance that we have in excess of our 4% to offset the taxes,
Correct.
right? We haven't talked about that yet. Okay, and then I thought, and I guess maybe that's why I'm also a little bit confused, because I thought in January you were going to be giving us our year-end projections.
It will be. And it's.
Oh, okay, I was thinking it was part of this meeting that we would have
That's
gotten so we
what
could have it.
future- No, I mean, by the end of January, absolutely, I will give you a projection on how I believe the 25-26 year will end,
Mhm.
whether it's a surplus or deficit. And the numbers published by the governor for 25-26 was a key piece of data I was waiting on. And there's the number right there. So the governor is telling me she's projecting we'll get 45.5 million. And that's a major piece of data that I need to provide you that projection.
Okay. Okay, so, because I guess I was also surprised that we didn't have a treasurer's report in this January meeting. So we haven't seen, the board has not seen the appropriations report since October then. So it's just, okay, I guess this is good information. That it just feels like I can't really use the information right now. And I think that the board, we should talk about what are we doing with the excess unassigned fund balance? And wouldn't that require board discussion and board approval as far as where that excess of the 4%, which is what, like $4 million, if I'm remembering offhand? Well, okay. Okay, so this is just the beginning stages.
And also, Madam President, to add to that too. Back in 2020-2021 school year, the board, I know you weren't here, I'm just making a statement. The Board of Education proposed and passed a 0% tax levy. And there was no $10.6 million surplus from the year before. So this is just really up for discussion. Passing a 0% tax levy is very possible. It's possible. Other than that, I also echo the sentiment of my fellow board member, and that in December, we saw financials for October. Here we are in January. We haven't seen November, December. So we are lagging further behind. The board does not know how these funds are performing at the moment. And I don't like that.
I have November's treasury report on my desk. I'm reviewing it.
Okay.
It will go home shortly. December is still open. Books are still open, so you likely won't see a December's treasury report until, again, the end of February, because we're typically a month behind.
Well, as soon as it becomes available, I mean, I'll speak for myself. I would appreciate seeing it.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Snyder.
Thank you.
At this point in time, there will be community input regarding board agenda items only. It's going to be the 15-minute one.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Margaret Shuff, Amityville. So thank you for the presentation on the tax levy information. It was probably one of the better reports I've seen laid out and displayed. But I do have commentary regarding having a 10-year outlook is a little beyond the scope that we probably need. We probably need something that's a little closer to the belt, maybe 2 years, 3 years out, but going all this fluff, moving all the numbers out to 10 years. It's great, it's good, but it's really not necessary at this point. I think we're looking for more of a current day and where we're going to be and where we're going to land. The question for me is to second and applaud Mr. Leon's commentary regarding the zero. I'm sorry, I lose my voice. Excuse me, about the zero tax levy. I think it's very achievable since we do have a surplus, and that really should be a really big bullet point that everyone should be discussing and that the community should be aware of. And I just want to point that out. And regarding the superintendent's report, I just wanted to ask a quick question regarding the Regents exams. You said they were improving, but there was no elaboration on that. There was no numbers of good, better, or best, or however that was. It was just a general statement of improvement, but you didn't display how they were improved. I didn't understand that. Sorry, comment. And the other thing, so I don't know if you want to respond to that.
No, just keep going.
Okay. And I was glad to hear in the superintendent's report that there was field trips, the Anne Frank, the Commerce Park, the jazz band, all of those great things. I applaud that happened, because I remember we were talking budget, there was no field trips, what have you. I'm glad that happened. So congratulations on that. And on the agenda also, I have a question is if you can define for me what a non-certified substitute teacher is.
Dr. Talbot.
Sure. A non-certified substitute teacher is one who is degreed, but is not certified in a content area by New York State Department of Education.
Okay, what would possess you, not you general? What's the benefit in that? Why would you get somebody who's in the field to be a permanent sub or whatever the case may be? Why would you pick someone who's
Certified?
out of scope? Yeah, like why wouldn't you apply the subject matter to a sub?
Sure. So I'll ask Mr. Lando to add on to what I'm going to say, but
I mean, I didn't convey that correctly, but
no, we
I'm
understand what you're
trying to
asking.
say, why wouldn't you pick someone in the subject matter? And I have one more question after that, but go.
You can go ahead.
So there is a dramatic shortage of per diem substitutes everywhere and in every district. And the state has allowed us now to, for up to 40 days per year, hire people as substitute teachers who are not certified or licensed educators. They also extend the number of days that those people can serve if they are already enrolled in at least 6 credits of education classes. And those that we tend to hire tend to be enrolled in 6 credits of education classes, working towards a master's degree in education.
Okay, so they're on the scope of getting there to be a
Yes.
teacher, a full-fledged teacher.
We absolutely want people who are pursuing the field of education
Okay.
and are looking for quality substitutes. Yes.
Okay, so treat them royally so they follow the path. That would be a good thing. And my last thing is with all the resignations and retirements that are on this agenda, is it going to be a one-to-one backfill? How do you approach the backfill on the resignations and the retirees?
So for some of the retirements, the retirees will certainly be replaced. And the resignations that I'm looking at here will be replaced unless there's any additional commentary on that.
Those that are retiring during this school year will be replaced for this school year because we need them to complete the school year.
Right, because I didn't want to have it see a deficit in any regard. Okay.
And again, with the approval of the board and the superintendent, however, I believe that that's the direction that we're going. Those that are not, those are the retirements at the end of the year, we need to look at staffing, we need to look at enrollments, we need to look at section sizes, et cetera, to determine staffing needs with the superintendent, with the board, with the assistant superintendent for business. And that's a decision that gets made in putting together the entire budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other community input on agenda items?
If I could just respond, I do have some of the information regarding the regions. The Algebra 1 regions increased by 2%. The Live and Environment in regions increased by 11%. The Algebra 2 regions increased by 12%, and the Global History by 7%, and the U.S. History by over 14%.
That's the percentage over people who took them last year? Is it
Yes,
great?
yes, from last year
So the amount of
to this year.
Just go to the mic.
14%, 11%. Is that what you're saying? The
There's
amount
there's a 14%
of increase
increase
in the amount of students that took it over last year.
in the
for-
proficiency rate.
Okay, thank you.
Any other agenda item questions?
Hi, yeah, I have a couple of agenda items. I noticed that on several things on the agenda, these retroactive. Really retroactive should be like in emergency situations. Let me see if these pages are numbered. 3B1, effective 8/27/25. That's last year, that's a whole year. On 3B5A, retroactive 2/1/25. On 3B9A through 9C, these are all retroactive 8/27/25. Why is that? You really shouldn't be.
It's all, if I'm allowed to speak on it, it's all things that had to take place. So, it wasn't like anyone missed anything or anything like that. These are all things that had to take place.
Okay. Also, several other things. So by this presentation, the state aid is going up 6.6%, which is great, right? The district's getting more money. I'm happy to see that. But I think what Mr. Snyder presented is a I don't have it in front of me, 2.23, what was it? 2.23% tax increase, right? Is that what you're proposing? Is that correct? What was it, 2.23? I have to tell you. There's a $10.6 million overage. We have more than 4% in our unassigned fund balance. That's egregious. We're not a profit for school. We're not a profit organization. We're here to educate children and maintain our facilities. All of you should be shocked by that. I appreciate trustee Leon talking about a 0% tax increase. You're getting more state aid. You're sitting on a huge lump of money that should be to offset any increase. That this is, you're overburdening the taxpayers. We're not cash cows. You represent the taxpayers at the end of the day and the students. You are supposed to be our voice. When that comes out, I would expect 6 of you to come out and say, hold on a minute, we're not going to do that. Instead, I only heard one trustee say that and a second trustee question these things. So that's upsetting. And then I just wanted to ask one other thing about that. About the tax cap. I'm sorry, okay, I ran out of time. That's fine. I did notice that my public portion where I filled out the form was passed around the table, but the speaker before me, their public comment card was not passed around the table. That certainly seems biased and targeted towards me. I just want to point that out to anybody listening or anybody in the audience.
I just note that the last speaker took the comment card back because her note gone.
Christopher Peel, Amityville. Okay, just want to say two things. Okay, with a $10.6 million fund balance, you know, I certainly would agree with the proposal for a 0% tax cap. Okay, that would just make sense, at least certainly for 1 year. And the second is, how are we balancing? You know, I mean, we have a fund balance like, you know, that big. Okay, most of that should be going toward the students. You know, it doesn't work like an account at Chase Manhattan. Okay, I'll let you guys answer that in private.
Thank you. Any other agenda questions? Okay. So moving on, we're going to close now.
I do have a question. I don't think did you actually answer the question about retroactive? Why we're going back over a year? You just said things had to be done, but what does that mean?
So, go ahead.
The one that you're referring to with the start date of February 1st, the February 1st was approved last February 29th. It's adding an end date to that particular leave.
Okay, thank you. And what about all the other ones where like there was a, it looked like a pay?
The others, there are adjustments due to one-to-one aides needed for special education IEP services. The employees were all appointed effective August 27th. There is a slight adjustment by half hour each that is being made at this point to make sure that we're meeting the IEP requirements for students.
But it was retroactive by over a year, right? Wasn't it August
No.
25? I think it was the last page, if you want me to grab it.
August 25 is the school.
August 25. Okay, but you're still retroacting it by like 5 months. Why didn't we catch that then? I don't think you were you here? I'm not even sure if you were
He
here.
just came in.
I came in at the end of September.
Okay, so why wasn't that caught ahead of time? Why are we retroacting 5 months?
I think it's when he came in and he realized.
Oh,
and
Dr. Landau, you caught that?
I'm going to call it a team effort to find things that we can correct. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Landau, for finding that.
Hi,
Just reset it, Emery. please.
Margot Howard, Vice President of the Amityville Teachers Association. I just wanted to say thank you for rectifying the appointments for our members, and for catching that, Dr. Landau. I do have a question about the 0% increase for 2019 through 2021. While I certainly don't want to discredit the efforts of anyone, would somebody be able to elaborate to what extent that was the result of a pandemic and the fact that there were no after-school activities or busing or field trips or additional expenditures during that time?
Dr. Talbot.
Mr. Snyder, I mean, none of us were here. We really can't speak to the facts as to the allocations of funding.
Um,
A lot of variables there that we
Yeah.
are not really qualified to
well, I
speak on.
certainly think it's worth being applauded. I do think there were other variables at play. My other question is about I keep hearing that there's a $10 million surplus, but that wasn't quite what was related in your budget proposal last time. Can you just clarify? I know we're no longer on the New York State Comptroller's list in terms of fiscal duress, and I do think that should be applauded as well. Can you clarify typically how much of that money is placed in reserve funds to show a healthy balance for a district? Are we doing what's typical in other districts?
I think as
Do we
I've,
seem to have an excess in reserves compared to everyone else?
no, and I think we've done that presentation here in public. There was in fact a $10.6 million surplus to end the 24-25 year. And that goes into our fund balance account. And we're now up to, I believe there was 5 in there now. So now we're at total at about 17 or 18. Again, I don't have those numbers in front of me. But the common metric used by the controller that was used to remove us from that fiscal stress list is they take the total amount of your fund balance and reserves and divide it into your expenditures. And they come up with a ratio. And I presented those ratios here in public, and Amityville is still in the lowest 25th percentile in terms of that. So I would tell you, and our external auditors also agree, that our reserves are underfunded and require more funding, but I also acknowledge that as a Board of Ed decision.
Thank you.
I just wanted to correct one thing I said. I believe I had said 0% tax cap before. I meant to say tax levy. That's all.
Thank you. Any other additional questions regarding agenda items only at this time?
Yes, I'm sorry. Just one quick question, Margaret Shop, Amityville. I can add it to my list if I need to. So on agenda item 3C-2, the change order for Seaford Plumbing, and I see it says the original contract sum was $336,000. And I'm looking that there was a saving, it looks like a savings of $45,000, and there's a new total of $291,000. What constituted the savings of $45,000? Was it a mistake? Was it a forethought to say maybe we don't need something and we're going to tighten the belt? What was the reason for that savings?
Mr. Snyder can elaborate on that.
On all public construction projects, architects asked for contractors to build allowances into their bids. It's money that sits on the side to help us deal with problems on the construction
Okay.
sites.
Okay,
In Seaford's case, they didn't need the allowance, so they want it credited back to them.
perfect. Thank you.
This is quick. I know we only have a minute. I just heard you say that we're well underfunded. I have personally spoken with the New York State Controller. We are more than overfunded in our unassigned fund balance. We should only have the 4%. We're over 8%. And that is coming from Ira McCracken, who is a New York State Controller.
Any other questions regarding board agenda items? Moving along, can I have a motion for agenda item 2A1, please?
Motion.
Chris Nairn is first. Carol Seehoff is second. Any questions regarding this agenda item?
Yeah.
Yes, Madam President.
Mhm.
Do you have a question?
Oh, you can go first.
Sure. So this is just a question because I haven't seen this on minutes previously, but the minutes under items F, which is curriculum and instruction, F4 and 5, old business and new business. It says see video at a certain time. So I've just never seen that before. For some reason, I thought that board minutes should be able to stand on their own in case someone doesn't have access to a video, but can I ask legal for their opinion on that?
Under, on page 5.
Right, so for the, yeah. I've never, new business, old business, it says see video.
So the unabridged video may be used as minutes. And your policy provides for unabridged, unabridged video constituting minutes. So it is specifically permissible under the open meetings law.
So can I ask a follow-up question, which is, I guess this is all right if no board action was taken, but what if board action is taken?
But there's no board action that takes place in old business and new business. If it's a board action, then we would amend the agenda to add it to the board action section of the board.
Well, even if board action was taken, it's permissible by law.
Right.
So, and it's consistent with the policy.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions regarding the minutes?
Yes. It's item 2A3. The motion to approve agenda item 2A2 is amended. The statement is missing something there to remove question mark, fails 1 to 5, but then we approve it 6-0. So something doesn't seem right there. And then also on 2C1, we modified the resolution and we approved the resolution. So I believe the resolution should be included in the agenda because it's not in the, I'm sorry, this says agenda at the top of the page. It should say minutes. So we need to include the modified resolution in these minutes. I know you've told me that you were not going to include one of my resolutions that fails, but we really should be including resolutions that get passed.
I don't think the resolutions go in the minutes. I think it goes attached to the agendas. But to your point with we'll change the top for the minutes, that needs to be changed. And
We do have some minutes. We have been approving minutes with resolutions built into the minutes. If we're passing resolutions during the meeting. Right, we've talked about this multiple times, like we're not going back and updating the agenda. So right now, we're not documenting what that resolution is. And then I do have that comment above too.
All right, so we have
And
the
then-
minutes. We'll
So
have
on to
Emery
your-
look at
Okay.
3C, no, 2A3.
And Juan, to your point, under new business and old business, we also have been approving minutes that like at least identify the topics that were discussed under the old business, new business. Rather than just see the video. And I
Right.
thought we were kind of tagging it like, see the video like 1 hour in, because the video doesn't say 8:45.
Okay, so we
It's
have the
just- I
notes.
mean-
Typically what, I think what Emery's been doing is listen to the minutes, looking at the time that it occurs and putting the time down. So we have the notes, the fact that agenda has to be changed to minutes to A3. She can listen to again to make sure that there's nothing missing there. And then it was to C1 in regards to the resolution. I think you're totally referring to.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
you see. And then also the old business, new business.
Mhm.
Any other comments on the minutes?
No.
So do we want to table the minutes or do we want to,
Yes.
Yes.
all right. Can I have can I amend the motion? Can I cancel the last motion? Now can I have a motion to table agenda item 2A1, please?
Motion.
Second.
Chris Neri. Megan Messman to table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 2B1, please?
Motion.
Chris Neri is first. Leslie Kretz is second. Any discussion on this agenda item?
Yes, I have some discussion. So thank you for bringing this. I brought it up in the December 10th meeting, so thank you. I guess I just was questioning a couple of things. So when we just sort of have the principals, assistant principals, teachers, building level leaders kind of tied together like that, is that reflective of the chain of commands as well? Or should it be kind of like, does the building level leaders, is that correct? Building level leaders report to the teachers, then reports to the assistant. Is that intended by that, how it's tied together?
No, so when we look at building level leaders, it'll come all the way out and go up and go all the way to report to the principals. And then teachers, assistants would do the same, and so would assistants.
Right. When I started, thank you. So when I started looking at this, I was questioning, so the home instruction lead, should that, we didn't interview for that position. So this kind of brought that to my attention. If that should be part of our hiring committee and interview process to the Board of Education.
The policy, I believe, refers to administrative positions.
Okay, so so that's up to the board then, I guess?
So the home instruction coordinator reports to the director for pupil personnel services.
Right. Okay. I thought that when we looked at this in June, you also had confidential secretaries on there, but is that just because this was just the policy version and maybe the version you brought to our meeting in June had more detail?
So the meeting in June asked for the organizational chart for central office. And so that entailed the cabinet
Okay,
and clerical
okay, that's what I was.
support personnel. This is the table of organization for the district-wide.
Okay, so when I brought it up then, thank you. So when I mentioned in December, I was hoping to see the org chart for the central office. So, so this is fine, I guess, because we have this change, right? We're bringing this to us because of the Director of Human Resources change.
Right. So the only change to this is the change in title from Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources to Director, and it's on the front and back page.
Right. Okay. Okay, thank you. So, I would be interested to see, I guess, the organizational chart for central administration that we looked at in June. Not necessarily as a board item, but, just, okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions on this particular agenda item?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Can I do agenda items 2C, 1, A and B, 2C, 2, 3, 4, oh no, I'll do 2C, 1, A and B, and 2C, 2 altogether. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion for agenda items 2C, 1, A and B, and 2C, 2?
Second.
Carol Seehoff is first, Chris Nairn is second. Any discussion on these items? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 6-0. So now we are up to the selection of candidates for the hiring committee. So based on the responses that we did receive, we did that. Yes. I did 2C1, A and B, and 2C2. I did it again. All right, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 names that are going to the hat. from the board previously, the board had stated that if someone was already on a committee, when we did the last time for the selection of the hiring committee, that we weren't going to have them on a second committee. If we're going to stick to that, then that means there's only 4 names that would go into the hat. So I just need to hear the board's consensus on this, because the last time that we did it, if someone was on any other committee, like the CBAC committee, for example, we did not put their names in the hat for the hiring committee. So the question is, do we want to stick with what we previously did, or are we going to do something different? So I just need to know, so I know what names need to go in here.
I am open to including all 5 names, whether or not they volunteer on the CBAC. We've already had volunteers pull out due to scheduling or whatever their reasons are for having to not be able to continue participation. So if somebody is willing and available to participate, I would be open to including all 5 names for consideration.
I think for me personally is that if we are selecting 2 additional names for tonight, and we have 4 people that can fill the seat, then we go from those 4 names. And then as we move forward, if someone backs out and we're down to the last 2 people, no, 3 people, then, and if it's someone that's on another committee, then I would say leave the name in it. So just to be consistent with what we did before, I just think it's only fair to remain consistent.
Madam President, also another idea for consideration. Since we have lost other members in the past for various reasons, I wouldn't be opposed to assigning 2 more people to fill the vacant seats and then having the other 3 as alternates. I would be open to that idea.
Rather than coming back again to pull names, you mean?
Sure.
Right,
Yeah.
like, is that what you mean?
Right, or if one of them can't make it, but an alternate could.
Yeah,
I would be okay with that.
right.
And I'd say like with the 2 alternates, whichever name gets picked first, this time they would be the first one called
Okay.
if the alternate is needed.
I think that for me, I'm fine with that, but what I'd rather do for the first time around is for those to be consistent with what the practice that we did the last time, which was if someone was already on another committee, then their name was removed from the hiring committee process. Once we select those 2 names, then we put all the names back in, even if someone was on another committee, and then from that, we do an alternate list, just to be consistent. That's just my only feeling on it.
I agree with you, Lisa. I think for the sake of equity and opportunity for community members, you should keep it that way.
But we have to remember that a lot of people have bowed out. So
Yeah.
I kind of agree with Megan on this one a little bit, that I feel that if they're willing to come on a committee and put up, take their time out from work or family or whatever and want to help with interviewing, I don't see why we can't have the 5. And then leave the other 3 for alternates. So that's, I'm just.
So, I mean.
So I'll put all the names in the hat in a cup.
Okay.
We have a better bag or something?
Yes, I'm Donuts cup.
We better have a better cup than Dunkin' Donuts. I'm not picking.
I would recommend having our.
Should we read the names or does it matter? We didn't tell anybody. Okay.
The names are Stephanie Andrews, Diane Eglina, John McSwain, Pat Rickenbacker, and Kayla Cooper. And those are the 5 names that are going into the hat.
So just to reiterate, if I heard you correctly, 2 will be selected to fill the vacant seats and the others will be held as alternates.
Alternates. For alternates.
Perfect.
All right, so the two that will go tonight will be Diane Eglina and Patricia Rickenbacker. That's two people there. And then the alternate list will be, if I heard you correctly, McSwain, Cooper, and then Andrews. Mhm. Right, so let me just get my little sheet here.
Do we have to add the alternates to the resolution, John, or is it fine?
Yeah, I would add the.
Right, so at the end, so John, just for clarification, where it says, whereas there are two vacant seats, right, for the period of January 2022, January 22nd, 2026 to June 30th, 2026. And that the two vacant seats shall be filled by the appointment of the following individuals. So do we need to add something onto here? If you can provide me with the proper language that recognizes the alternates for these positions, I would appreciate it. Right, so what I'm going to add to it, now therefore be resolved that the two vacant seats shall be filled by the appointment of the following individuals, Patricia Rickenbacker and Diane Eglinger. It is further resolved that the following individuals shall serve as the alternates, and the first alternate is John McSwain. The second alternate is Kayla Cooper, and the third alternate is Stephanie Andrews. Can I have a motion for agenda item 2C3?
Motion to approve?
Second.
That's Juan Leon is first. Chris Naren is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Can I do agenda items 2C, 4, and 5 together?
Yes.
Have a motion for agenda item 2C4
Motion.
and 2C5.
Second.
Carol Seehoff is first. Chris Naren is second. Any discussion on these items occurred in executive session? All right, so all those in favor for agenda items 2C4 and 2C5?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 6-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3A1, please?
Motion to approve?
Juan Leon is first.
Second.
Leslie Kretz is second. Any discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing no discussion on on this, agenda item on 3A1, can I have all those in favor, agenda item 3A1?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 6-0. Can I do agenda items 3B1A through E and 3B2 altogether? Or does anyone need anything done separately?
Madam President, I have no objection, but I do have discussion points for A and B. But we can do it together. That's fine.
I have a motion for agenda items 3B1A through E and 3B2A.
So
Motion.
Chris Neering, Leslie Kretz. Discussion on this item?
Yes, Madam President. This is a question for Dr. Talbert, but it very well may be an HR question. With regards to 3B1A and 1B, instructional appointment, I mean, this might be nitpicking, but effective date, it says a date and then it says or return of incumbent. So that can go either way.
Yes,
So
it could go either way, and that's the structure that we've discussed regarding the resolutions, so that it doesn't have to return. Like to elaborate?
And employees sometimes have the opportunity or choose to return from a leave earlier, especially when it's an FMLA leave. They have the right to do that. And rather than have the board vote to terminate a leave or make another adjustment, this allows us to do that and inform the board of that via the transmitter.
understood, but if we look at for a second, instructional appointment update 3B1E. 1E, and you look at the effective date, the wording is a little bit different. It says or earlier return of incumbent.
I will look to make that consistent in all future board agendas.
That's what I'm getting at, because my point is this, say we're looking at 3B1, I'm sorry, if we're looking at, for argument's sake, 3B1A, effective date January 22nd until May 4th, or return of incumbent. That incumbent returns September or October of next school year. This covers them towards that. I think the spirit is if they come earlier, to terminate it,
Yes.
not to extend. I think that's the spirit.
That's
of it, right?
correct, and one can
Okay.
expect the consistent language in the future of a terminal date no later than the end of the school year with or earlier return of income.
Okay, so Madam President, we have that corrected. Would it be all right to amend the agenda for 3B1A and also 1B to be consistent with 3B1E, and the wording is or earlier return of incumbent? Would that suffice?
Only if the dates on the earlier two were extended. We have some that have indicated an earlier return, which is, I believe, reflected in the backup. And so if they've already indicated a return prior to the end of the year, just then we wouldn't want to have to redo this. On the other hand, if someone were to extend their leave, we also wouldn't want to do it. Changing the language along the lines of no later than a return of incumbent up to June 30th would be appropriate in the first two, whereas it's different in the third.
And then you'll make the corrections on.
And I will keep the board informed, and any person that is appointed as a leave replacement, that would be through the end of the school year, and we would make determinations for next year, which would require an additional appointment.
There was a language, it was done this way because each situation was different. And it had to be worded this way for circumstances related to the individual in the position or other individuals that were covering the position. That's why it was.
I understand that. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't leaving anything open-ended. As it says, or return of, which could span past dates.
Would it be more acceptable to say a return of incumbent by June 30th?
I think the way
Close out the
the way
year?
Mr. Lando said would would suffice if you'd like to repeat that.
So for the first two, or return of incumbent up to June 30th,
Yes.
2026. I thank all for the suggestions.
So, Madam President, I'm calling for motion to amend the agenda,
Keep going.
3B1A and 3B1B, to amend it to the effective date. We're striking out or return of incumbent, and we're adding in Mr. Lando.
No, the language was,
We're keeping
June
or
8th,
return
return.
of incumbent up to June 30th, 6/30/2026.
Okay.
all right, so there's another motion on the table, so I'm gonna rescind that last motion, a motion to rescind that last motion, the 3B1. Just amend it?
Amend.
Okay. Okay, sorry about that. So,
Second.
Second,
hold on. Make sure we got the motion to amend. To add language. And then Marie, you get this as well? For 3B1A and 3B1B. Up to return of incumbent up to June 30th, 2026. Okay. So Juan was first, Kusnir was second. So all those in favor of the motion to amend to add the language 3B1A and 3B1A and 3B1B, and also for agenda items 3B1C, D, E, and 2A.
Motion to approve.
So Juan was first, Chris Neer is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0. We have a motion for agenda item 3B, well, yeah, thank you. Have a motion, have a motion for the amended motion of 3B1A and 1B, as well as other items 3B1C, D, E, and 2A.
Second.
So Carol Seehoff, Juan Leon, all those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye, motion carries 6-0. Can I do agenda items 3B4, A, B, C, 5A, 6A and B, 7A, and 8A and B altogether, or does anyone need anything done separately?
Together.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve agenda items 3B, 4, A and B, 5A, 6A and B, 7A, and 8A and B. I heard Juan Leon as a first, Carol Seehoff as a second. Any discussion on any of these items? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 6-0. Can I have a motion to amend the agenda to add agenda item 3B8C, which is for the retirement of the school nurse, Margaret Brower, effective August 31st, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Juan Leon is first, Chris Neer in a second. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye, motion carries 6-0. Now can I have a motion for agenda item 3B8C, please?
Motion to approve.
Second,
Juan Leon's first, Chris Neer is second. All those in favor?
aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Can I do agenda items 9A through E altogether, or does anyone need anything done separately? Okay. Can I have a motion for agenda item 9A through 9E? Lizzie Kretz is first,
Second,
Chris Naren is second. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, Madam President. My question is for Dr. Talbert. Can you please explain this change my understanding is that these are all personnel at Edwin W. Miles Middle School. This is going retroactive. I believe one of them to October, one to December, and they are one-on-one aides. They were previously at 6 hours, being increased to 6.5 hours. Can you please explain the change?
Yes, the change is based upon meeting the needs of the IEP of the students that they are assigned to. These particular aides work at the middle school where it is equivalent to 6.5 hours. So based on the school that you are assigned to, that could also determine the hours that you work, as well as the IEP requirements of the students. So this resolution is being brought back to make these individuals whole based upon the assignments that is tied to the IEPs of the students they are providing one-to-one services for.
Okay, so Dr. Talbert, I guess my question is this. Were we not aware that due to their IEPs and whatever the situation is, that they required 6.5 hours instead of 6 at the beginning of the year?
So initially, when the aides were brought before, these particular one-to-one aides should not have been a part of the listing that was originally adjusted to 6 hours. They should have remained their 6.5 hours. And so this is brought back to make the appropriate adjustment.
Thank you, Dr. Talbert. And my final question, just for my understanding, are we saying that they have not been working 6.5 hours and now will be working 6.5 hours, or they have been working 6.5 hours but getting paid for 6? I'm trying to understand it better.
And so there is a combination of that. Some were working 6 hours. Some were working the 6.5 hours. When the meeting was had and the information was clear, it was determined which ones should be brought back so that the modification and adjustment could take place.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on these items? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Can I do agenda items 3C, 1 through 3 altogether? Does anyone need anything done separately? No. Have a motion for agenda items 3C, 1 to 3C, 3, please.
Motion to approve.
Juan Leon is first.
Second.
Carol Suhoff is second. Any discussion on any of these items?
Yeah, I know you said you did too.
Oh, okay, sure. So I'll make it real quick. With C1 Health Service Contracts, this is a thank you to Mr. Schneider. I saw that there were invoices enclosed in there from other school districts. I'd never seen that before. I'm appreciative of that. Thank you for that. That's number one. With C2 change order Seaford Plumbing, I know we went over this during agenda review, and I just want to make sure I understand this change order of $45,000, which I'm going to tell you my understanding of it, and then you can just correct me if need be. That the $45,000 was a contingency fund. That's my first understanding. It's a contingency fund that was not used for the project, but we are not getting that back. The company, this Seaford Plumbing, wants that money, but I'm not sure for what work. So I'm sorry, Dr. Talbert, maybe you can explain that, or if you want to hand it over to someone, that's fine.
As I had mentioned earlier, all public construction contracts include contingencies. They're actually called allowances, but it means the same thing. In this case, Seaford's bid required them to carry $45,000 in allowances, just in case there were any problems on the job. We could use the allowances to solve those problems. There were no problems on the middle school construction project. Seaford, unlike the rest of the other contractors, wants a credit change order so that they don't have to pay that because they honestly don't want to carry the bonding and insurance. It's really just a financial move on their part. Should we, in the very near future, decide to go forward with the additional work that we had discussed on the first floor, we're gonna have to do another change order for Seaford to take the $45,000 back.
Okay,
Does
so
that
that's,
answer your question?
somewhat. So that's where the confusion is. The confusion for me, it's essentially a credit for future work.
It's money that the district never collected from them. Should we have wanted Seaford to do work on the first floor, that $45,000 would have been used up to help pay for the work on the first floor. They want to be closed out, to use the proper expression, so that they can drop the insurance and the bonding until such time as we want to go forward with the work, and then they'll have to pick it up again. I resisted it a little bit because I just, it's a lot of paperwork, but the architect said you basically have to credit them back. And should we award additional work, we will process another change order for the $45,000 and let's see if we do the plumbing work on the first floor.
So it's a credit to the district.
Yeah, we're not going to pay the $45,000 to Seaford. It's a credit back to them so that they can be closed out and drop the insurance and
The $45,000 is credited back to the district.
Yes,
It comes off their bottom line.
correct.
Okay, that's where the confusion came from.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm sorry, it's the most obvious thing. I'm sorry.
well, you
It's a
just gotta
credit
say
back,
it
it's a credit
sometimes.
back to us. We're not
Right.
paying that,
Very good, thank you.
not yet. But again, if we are going to proceed with the work on the first floor, we're gonna have to do a positive change order and then we will be paying Seaford this month.
So that's where my question lied. So I understood the credit. I understood that we weren't authorizing that work right now, but we did. I mean, I had asked, and I think others on the board were also interested in renovating the first floor bathrooms that were not in the original scope. Can you remind me what that change order would cost to include those bathrooms?
I believe we have alternates for that, if I remember correctly. I'd have to look at it
No,
again.
it wasn't its own standalone.
I'd have
I
to
don't-
look at it, ma'am, and report back to it, but I remember discussing this. It came up in this discussion.
Right.
That we believe we have enough money to proceed with the first floor. We just,
So okay, so then why would we go through the paperwork process to give them back to reduce their upper limit if we think we want to proceed with the first floor bathrooms?
because Seaford in this case does not want to carry the performance bonding and the insurance. They want to drop it. And then should we award to them in the summer, they'll pick it back up again. It's a
But does that-
financial move for them.
I understand it's for them, but for us, doesn't that make it more challenging? Do we have to go out to public bid again? Because if we're closing the contract with the plumber now, we can't, it's to reopen it. Wouldn't you have to go to public bid?
No,
Why is that?
because we would then process a positive change order.
But you're
For the
closing the
work.
contract, you're letting them close their bonds.
If I'm explaining it correctly for John and for council, the reason Seaford wants this is because they don't want to carry insurance from now until July 1st when they don't have to.
So
That's
they're carrying, the bond is based upon 100% of the contract costs. The 100% of the contract cost includes an allowance.
Right.
So they want the allowance to come off the top so they
Right.
can reduce the cost of their bonds.
Mhm.
The contract will still be open and
Oh.
available for a change order in July.
Oh, the contract is
Yeah.
remaining open.
Yes. They're just removing the allowance at this time.
Why is the contract remaining open? Just because it's not, why are we keeping the contract open?
if we want to award the first floor work, they still have a bid with us and we can still use them and award the work under that bid, the GM 103.
Okay. I mean, I don't, I've not, I don't, we don't keep construction contracts open and then bring them. I'm having a hard time with that. How do you let them?
I'll speak with Mr. Schneider.
Oh, you're gonna follow up
Yeah,
on that?
I'll follow it up.
So are we approving this?
This is just a credit.
Okay, but I'm questioning, is the contract still open then?
We still can utilize Seaford for the work in the summer. They have agreed that they want the work.
Of course they do,
We're
but
just,
is
we're
that,
just gonna have to process more paperwork to bring them back in, and you're gonna see another change order processing a positive $45,000 for them to do the work.
okay, can you just, get the change order price for just the bathrooms then? Yeah,
I'll provide the board and the transmittal an analysis of what that first floor.
and then
would look like.
just the first floor.
Just the first.
Yes, thank you. I did have a question on the donations. I understand that there's 5 $20 gift cards being donated. And I was just, is that the correct understanding? Okay, I was just kind of questioning, how do we do that? Because I thought all the money needs to kind of come into the district and then out. Like, what do you do with a gift card?
So I'll ask Ms. Stevens to sort of explain how this is being utilized, but oftentimes we will receive donations of gift cards and they are held until they are approved and disseminated to the families or the students for the purposes therein.
So it doesn't actually, we're just holding gift cards? Yeah.
So we don't disperse until the donation.
Okay,
is-
and it's just so small money, it's just $100, that we're not actually depositing into an account and then dispersing it. Is that,
No, I think Dr. Talbert pretty much covered it, but our social workers would have access to this for families in need based on an incidental event where they might need something or continued need, they would be able to disperse to families discreetly.
okay, I guess, okay. Okay. I think, we have a donation policy with, okay, I guess it's not explicitly defined who it's going to, and then who's gonna figure out who it's going to, and that sort of thing.
So
I understand.
this would be dispersed through
It's a fair
our
thing,
pupil personnel office,
right?
who would have the confidential information as it pertains to families that are in need.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other discussion on these items? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0. We have a motion for agenda item 3E, 1 through D, 1A, 1 through 1D, sorry. Chris Nearing is first. Carol Seehoff is second. Any discussion on these items? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 6-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3F1, please?
Motion.
Chris Nearing is first. Leslie Kretz is second. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 6-0. Is there any old business that anyone wants to discuss?
Maybe. Good. Okay. So I understand that, I think, Chris, you had brought this up in December, questioning the intramural sports rollout. Is there an update? Because I don't know that families have received an update. I know maybe there was inquiries sent out as to what sports maybe their kids would be interested in, but then where are we with the rollout of intramural sports?
So a parent square notification was sent out shortly after we
Mhm.
discussed,
Right.
making sure that we publicize it.
Mhm.
And do you have an update as to where we are now that we could share?
I don't have an update on that. The Parent Square message did include information on who to contact for the various sports. I'm not sure what update I could provide next time for you.
Okay, I guess I'm just wondering when they're gonna start.
So they have different start times based on the sports. So the parents were a message, just let you know who to contact so that you would know when meetings were being held for the intramurals.
Okay, I'm not sure if all parents know that if they have to do some other action. So maybe we should look into it a little bit. Let's make sure it's going and people are aware, even if they expressed interest that, when it might roll out. Okay, thank you. Um, okay, so I am interested in the timeline. That would make sense to, if we needed to put a proposition on the ballot for the spring. I know we don't have a budget. We're in the early stages of that. But one item that keeps coming up, or during my tenure here on the board, is that we have money in the capital money funds with projects that are just open, that we never closed. And then we have projects with overruns. So I thought that maybe Alan Yu was here and we were talking about, a proposition to the voters to sort of clean that up in the sense of moving money around in there to close out the historical projects and just, only have like more recent active contracts open. So I guess I would be interested to, as a refresher, I don't need to write this minute. I know we have a little bit of time, but just like when the board would have to decide of that proposition and I guess the board's opinion on that. Okay, and then nobody has an opinion right now.
I would just want to have the information refreshed for me, and then I can give an opinion on it. So I'm definitely interested in having the information, what would be on the proposition, what we would need to do. So yes, I am interested in getting more information.
Okay, because it could, like, if there's money in there and we have an open construction contract, there is potential that you could maybe use more money now because you just showed us our debt services for 10 years and it was, what was it, 2030 that maybe we would want to maybe consider another capital project, but there's money in the capital funds and there's issues, right? We just had there was an issue with the boilers in the high school with the gas leak recently, or whatever it was. So I don't know if it was a leak or I guess it was a leak. So, maybe that's something that we should be investigating in the imminent future. Is there a way to handle that through the capital money?
Yeah, I would just like I said, I'm interested in getting all the information again. And then that way we can make an informed decision as a board in terms of what we want on that proposition. So yes, I am interested.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to cut you off, but I have a question that's very similar to that, and it might need some legal guidance as well. And it goes back to the surplus that we have, $10.6 million. And I'm fairly certain that that amount would be enough to fund our reserves at 4%. And I do believe it could easily cover a 2% tax levy. But my question, listen, we can debate that, but the question really is surplus funds. They should go into a special account. Does that have to be approved by the voters? Does it need to have a specific function? Like, does it have to be to pay for something? John, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So there are different reserve funds and they all have different requirements. Some require voter approval. Some you have existing already and may be funded by resolution at the end of the school year without voter approval. So my recommendation would be to look at that money within the context of your budget, because although it is in the unassigned fund balance, it's really part of the budget overall. So, what's going, and as Mr. Steiner said, it's dependent on the projections for your fund balance at the end of the current school year is going to dictate what money is left for either placement in reserves or use for capital funding. So whether it is capital funds that are left over from projects that were overfunded, or you're looking at funds in your budget that you're going to use pursuant to a transfer to capital. My recommendation is to look at that at your budget overall and see what money you have for voter approved uses that are over and above your base budget. And typically those resolutions, those propositions are included in your legal notice. So that's 45 days prior to the date of the election, and then be included in your legal notice.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to steal your time, but I have a quick follow-up question which pertains to finances. I'll ask Dr. Talbert, and if she wants to pass it off, that's fine. My question is this, and it's because we haven't seen finance reports past October. And I think Second Vice President Nearing pointed out that we were overspent in certain areas already. My question is this: do we anticipate running a operational deficit? Meaning, do we plan on pulling from reserves to make this school year whole? That's my question.
So we are currently reviewing where we are with that. Mr. Snyder did reiterate the volatility of the finances of Amityville. He went back over 15 years. We are concerned about the volatility. There are line items that are over budgeted, of course, overtime in various departments being one of those. And we know that overtime was cut drastically when we were cutting the final $2 million from last year's budget. And I think he did provide the board with a projection of the overtime in the transmittal as well. Would you like to add any commentary to that?
That I had agreed previously to provide the board with a projection for how I believe the 25-26 school year will end by the end of January, and I'm working on it. As I believe I said earlier that the state aid proposal contained a 25-26 projection right there. That was a major component that I was waiting on. It's very early to do a projection like that, but if you recall previous public meetings, I think it's necessary that we try to do a projection for 25-26 to see whether we are thinking we have a deficit or thinking we have a surplus. I see codes that look like they're very healthy. And then as Trustee Naring pointed out, the overtime looks like they're going to be short. What that all looks like once we add it all together and then look at all the revenue, I'm not prepared to say publicly yet.
So, yeah, I'm super interested in seeing this. I was asking for it too before the new year. The state aid that you just referenced that you got yesterday, did it change from what we projected when we created the budget?
A little bit. Yeah.
How did it change?
I'd have to have that in front of me, but again, it doesn't also include the $2 million grant that was secured by the board, so that's not in there. So I'd have to look at it, but it never comes in exactly as budgeted.
Is it up or down?
I'd have to look at it, ma'am. In combination with the 2 million, I think our state aid is going to do very well. But without the 2 million, because that wasn't up on the screen, I'd have to look at it, ma'am.
Okay, can you please send, today's Wednesday, in the Friday package, is it okay that the board receive, or can the board please receive the appropriations report? No, not the projections, just an appropriations report, since we haven't seen the appropriations report since October then.
Have to see if all the accounting corrections are done. I can't promise it.
Is it, well, the board, we've had these discussions and the board is in understanding that it's in flux.
You want appropriation status as of Friday?
Sure,
Just, yes,
yes,
absolutely. I didn't realize what you were asking.
thank you.
Any other old business?
So I was talking about the gas in the high school and I tied it to the capital project. And I in the district-wide safety plan, there's a district-wide safety team. When will that team be meeting?
So as it pertains to the high school, there was not a gas leak in the high
Okay.
school.
Yeah.
It was a defective part on the boiler.
Mhm.
National Grid was called out and was not able to detect a gas leak. There is an emergency response team that each school has intact. Just a few days ago, we discussed reconvening those teams and checking in with the schools to see where we are in terms of meeting recently. So that's the
Okay.
emergency response
That's a
team.
little bit different though, but in
Little
the
bit
front of the district-wide safety plan, there's also a team,
There's also
which
a
may
team.
have some of those same representatives.
Very well could.
So when does that team meet?
The safety teams, we'll have to get back to you on the dates, but buildings should be meeting with their safety team. Those are building-based teams.
But there's board members on there. Not the building level, the district-wide. Okay. Okay, we'll get back on that. Okay, so I became aware, that some of the track team traveled by the Long Island Railroad, to, meet in Manhattan. And that, the notification of this travel was by a printout, the day before. And I just, I guess I was surprised, that we were allowing that, from, I guess, like a liability standpoint, just having our students travel by the Long Island Railroad, but then also just the way it was communicated. So this might be something that requires follow-up as well. I became aware from concerned parents that there was a handout the day before. We don't have a bus, but we're still going. We're going to take the train. So that was kind of surprising to me. And the parent was concerned that that was the avenue that we were taking to get the team to the meet.
Sure, we'll follow up on that. I do know that from time to time in the past, teams have taken the Long Island Railroad along with chaperones, coaches.
Sure.
To various events, but we'll follow up and report back to you.
Okay, and thank you.
They did have a bus on the ride back.
Yes. Yes, I guess somehow the bus fell through the last minute.
It was the timing that they needed to leave in order to get to the event where there were no buses available.
Okay. I also had some parents reaching out to me wondering about the summer program. So this is just kind of the time of year where parents are signing up for summer camps and just planning, what are they going to do? So is there a preliminary plan as to what will be offered and when will the preliminary plan be communicated with the community?
So summer programming would depend upon funding. And I am sure as of this date, there's no indication of funding. Do you want to further comment on that?
That's correct. So currently, the grants that we were using to fund summer programs have run out. We continue to look for other opportunities for funding. We are hoping that New York State does offer some grants that will replace the ones that are ending, but there has been nothing posted that would meet the needs of our summer programs.
Okay, so, and we're just, so can we do anything without a grant? Because I think that our community and our, think we need the offerings for the summer. Is it scope? Is it, I don't know, is it partial? Can parents pay? I mean, do other districts pay for, contribute to the summer program? Is there, how can we do this? How can we think creatively, I guess, to ensure that we can offer something in the absence of maybe not obtaining a grant?
So there are services like Scope that are, parents would have to pay something for those services.
Yeah.
We have looked into those before. We can look into that again for summer. And see where we are.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great. I think it's a need. So, and that, like I said, you know, everyone starts planning now what to do, and is there going to be anything offered through the district is a big question mark.
And being that it begins after July 1, it's based on budgeting for us right now. And we heard Snyder say we're not quite sure exactly where we're going to land. So maybe after the projection is done and we have a better sense, we can begin to move forward a little bit and see where we may land.
Right.
But he's holding our hands really tight. So
No, I know. And listen, I get it. Like, it's in flux, right? But it just so that we see it too, and we can better understand what the flux is, and not feel surprised. The clerk timesheets, Lisa, thank you for uploading them. I did sort of question, there was two things, just like rolling over the time, and then was there a recommend?
Are we allowed to discuss this, or yes or no?
It's a
About the time-
timesheet.
about
I
the
don't know,
timesheet.
Shannon.
Well, it's,
I just want to make sure.
I mean, it's done plenty of history. It's
Okay.
Time sheets.
Okay, just
Just
want to make sure.
tracking. It's just the tracking.
Yep.
And then I don't know if you've seen them, John, but just to see how we're carrying time from timesheet to timesheet. And then I think, I don't know, remember which firm it was, but there was a recommendation to have 2 signatures, I believe, on timesheets. Am I mistaken?
So, for the district clerk is an employee of the board.
Okay, so that would be up to.
So it would, there's typically just one.
Okay, so it's different because it's
Yeah, it's
just
different
the board.
because there's no direct supervisor and then a check. Because you're the board and you're the top. So there's really just one.
Okay. So I would, I guess, appreciate you taking a look at where they stand. And I think that the high school senior class trip bus is something that is gonna remain open for right now, but if is the board gonna consider, will the board need to be involved if funding is needed to help finalize the senior class trip?
So I think that does go back to the conversation about supporting school clubs and how will we do that equitably based on the needs. If a club is asking for money to be contributed that they did not raise, I think it would be wise for us to discuss it and perhaps have a board decision as to.
Board vote on, okay.
It may not be necessary, I'm not sure, John, but while we are in transition on where we're going to stand with that.
Also, your policy on this 4531 provides for travel depending on the event.
Mhm.
So whatever the event is, would have to fall within the classification under that policy. And that policy actually delegates that to the superintendent of schools. But the board could always look at that policy if they wanted to change the policy and have the board determining the amounts or putting some equity criteria into the policy. Presently, it's delegated to the superintendent of schools.
Okay, thank you. So that's
Within the constraints of the budget, right? Because this is a budget item.
right, sure. Thank you. So, and that's the same policy that we have earmarked for the policy meeting on Monday, 4531. Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
think that policy speaks of overnight, correct? This trip would not be overnight, am I correct?
Oh, it's only overnight that policy covers? Well, maybe we'll still just take a look at it.
Well, I thought it
Okay.
covered travel.
Okay, we'll take another look at it.
Sure. Can I just ask a quick follow-up question? Has anyone had any discussion with the cost of transportation for this senior class trip? Does anybody know? Is it 3,000? Is it something else?
think they said it was like-
They don't know whether they're going to Kalahari.
Right, so we did share with the board, the original quote was closer to 5,000.
What? I don't know.
Was-
Leslie's confused.
No, it was, in news and notes, we got information that it was roughly about $5,000 for California.
Right.
Right, they would, right, as of right now, they were looking at Kalahari, that's what it was?
Right, but as of right
but-
now, that's what they're
Right,
trying.
right now, that's what we're looking at, that was the approximate cost, but if it can't take place, then they'll be looking at a different location, the cost of the bus may be different.
Okay, thank you.
Another quick question. Have we funded this trip before? Is there a precedence for this?
I
think Ms. Stevens said that 2 years ago, there was some assistance provided for busing.
Okay. So again, that has to go into bigger scope of equity. Okay, very good.
Any other old business, new business, anyone else? You're welcome. At this point in time, community input on non-agenda items only. We just need to reset. Log back in again. Just give us 1 second so we can log back in again, please. We just reset, the top one back to 3. And we're gonna be working from the bottom one of the 30. Yep. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, I just have several things. Wendy Canestra. The hiring committee, I heard the discussion. I was glad to see that everybody was thrown in. I know there was discussion that you wanted to preclude people that were on the budget committee, but on your application to the community, there was nothing that precluded anybody from another committee. So that was very arbitrary. I think you need to be aware of that. But again, the outcome, I'm glad you worked that out. Was the AAA contract settled? Can you stop it when I'm asking a question?
Just hold on a second.
Because now
Go-
I lost
hold-
a bunch of
I'm,
seconds.
I'm watching the time as well, so.
Okay, because it keeps going down.
I know, but I watch it and then I make sure if it goes off, I give people a little bit more time.
Okay, thank you.
So, is that,
AAA
Tell-
contract settled? Then why were all the administrators leaving when they're required to be here at board meetings?
if you want to hold on to it, we'll just wait for the it's up to you. If you want to hold, we can wait to the end for the questions, to answer the questions that way.
But sometimes you lose the questions I'm asking. or other people are.
No,
Would you like me to continue?
Yes.
Okay. I actually heard about that track meet also. In speaking to several parents, and there was no permission slip, and the flyer sent home to parents it was not on district letterhead. That is a tremendous liability to the district. I hope you do look into that. That is not proper. Lastly, I just want to talk to the board members, everybody in general. You have no treasurer's report, no appropriation status report generated. It takes one click of a button to have real-time appropriation status report. I'm guessing you don't really maybe understand the role. You are fiduciaries. You are stewards of the taxpayers' money. You took an oath for New York State Constitution. You are required to know the finances. You're required. That's your job. I remember Mr. Nearing said about the overspending overtime. It was great that he pointed that out. You have no idea of what's going on in your budget. I was on the board last year and we were 2 months behind on appropriation status reports. Perhaps if we got them in real time, we would have been able to catch that they were so much underspending. Think about this. 3 months and you don't have appropriation status. You represent every single taxpayer. That's your job. And this is unacceptable. You don't have a treasurer's report. When the state controller comes into a school district and they do an audit, I don't know if you're aware of this, they usually interview the board president. I was a president in my past district. One of the very first questions they ask is, are you receiving your treasurer's report and all that information monthly? The answer is no. And I'm going to do y'all a favor and I'm going to let the controller know that you're not getting it. It's a huge violation. Know your rights and do your jobs and protect the taxpayers. Let me just see anything else. Oh, and by the way, the fact that the word deficit is coming up is crazy. You are sitting on $10.6 million and there may be a deficit at the end of the year. Get your financials, okay? And that's really it. I mean, guys, I hope you're searching for a new business official. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other non-agenda items?
Good evening, Nakia Wolf, Amityville Teachers Association President. First and foremost, Happy New Year. Seems like it's been a while. Hopefully everybody is doing okay. Definitely hoping that when we return back for a new year, for the second half of the year, that we would have some more positivity. This actually hasn't been too bad as it relates to the board. We've been nice to each other, so that's nice. I would like to say thank you for the fact that we had the board made a decision upon the recommendation of the superintendent to provide additional time for an employee to prove that the faith that the district had in them is going to be warranted, and giving them an opportunity to extend their probationary appointment. This is not something that is taken lightly. Not only is the person appreciative, but also the district is. It's one of the mechanisms that it is that you have, where it is that you can see the potential value in someone and give them the opportunity to make corrective action. So I want to thank you guys for that opportunity. The other piece is that there are some issues that you tend to run into due to a lack of institutional knowledge. And that is further impacted by transiency. A decision had been made by the board at some point in time relative to the status of the superintendent of schools. I don't know what your plans are, completely and totally, obviously your decision. But at some point in time, you need to make a move because every single staff member, whether it's a teacher or anybody else who is impacted by that, they need to know how it is that we are moving forward. We're hoping that we can finally get to a point, irrespective of your decision, that we can get some stability here, because that's something that we need. Constantly making these changes is what has led us to the position that we've been in. So I'm hoping that you are in the process of making some form of decision, because our district has an opportunity to move forward. And this is just something that could potentially derail us, if, you know, depending on what decision you're making, also not knowing how that could potentially impact the rest of your sitting cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on, input on non-agenda items?
Good evening, Caroline Fanning. I have a question, the conversation that the board was having about state aid projections and whether they're up or down. I'm not sure if I heard correctly, but I thought I heard the business officials say with the 2 million, it could be very good. Did I hear that correctly? And should I interpret that to mean that we're hoping for another 2 million for a third year? No. Okay.
No, Mr. Schneider, would you like to clarify what you said?
For 25-26, the projections on the screen did not include the $2 million.
Okay, so I misheard. Thanks for the clarification. And then regarding the 10 million surplus, for the past 3 years, the district has spent roughly $700,000 in interest on tax anticipation notes. And these are short-term payday loans that districts take out when they're having cash flow issues. So my question is, now that we're suddenly flush with cash, can the district find a way to apply some of that surplus to the budget so that we are not paying interest on payday loans? $700,000 superintendents, multiple administrators. It just seems crazy to me that a district that suddenly has all this cash is, you know, acting like a cash strapped and paying handsomely for it.
So it's a question that we have. I'm not, if they're able to respond, then I'll have them respond. So if not, we can always get back. So I have your question here.
Yeah. I'll take a response off the cuff. Doesn't have to be official.
The district decreased their TAN borrowing this year. I think it went from 25 down to 16 because of the surplus. But I would love to avoid TANs altogether, but that's out of the district's control. That's just the way Suffolk County pays us our tax levies.
Yeah, but the district controls how it spends the funding through the year. You know, twice a year you get your TANs money. So you have to, you know, structure your spending accordingly. You just got to plan.
I receive all the TAN funding once when I borrow it. And this year we borrowed less because we had a surplus.
But I'm saying get yourself into a position where you don't need TANs at all. So you don't have to pay interest on it. You suddenly have an extra 4 million to play with.
I don't know if any district goes without a TAN in Suffolk County.
When I was on the board, I did ask around and they do exist. I know plenty of districts have them, but there are also districts that don't. And I would add to this that 3 years ago, our TAN's interest was $425,000. So we've not doubled it, but almost doubled it in recent history. So
I would say that's caused by the fiscal position, which I presented here. And when you have 15% fund balance and reserves as a percentage of your budget, your cash flow in September and October is going to be tight enough that you can't avoid having a TAN.
well, we have more money now to play with.
We do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just clarify? You said, so that was the first time I heard that, that we reduced our borrowing from 25 million to 16 million after the surplus came to fruition. Is that? Okay, I didn't.
Far less
Mm,
on the tan for 25, 26 than we did for 24, 25.
thank you.
Nope, not today, not this time. Thank you. Hi, Margaret Chuck, Amityville. I'd like to know what the status is and has an RFP gone out for any search firms in obtaining a new superintendent search? No. What's your timeline for that?
The board has not decided.
Okay, we're hitting February. I would think that would be on the top of the list to get moving on that because we all know that things lag around here. And a lot of this budget stuff is getting kind of muddy, to say the least, with regard to it's simple budgeting. You have money, you spend it to pay the bills. It's like a normal household. I bring up this whole regular household thing all the time when it comes to budgeting. If you have bills to pay, you pay them. If it's causing a problem monthly or whatever, you try to get rid of the worst offenders. What this previous speaker just spoke about makes absolutely perfect sense. And to say that every school budget has those loans and such, it makes no sense whatsoever. And a lot of the projections, everything else, just stick with the plan, stick with maybe a 2-year lookout and get it right. Stop all the fluff. It's messy, it's distraction, and it's too much. Just get to the bottom of the numbers and get it right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on non-agenda items?
I just realized I didn't get an answer to my question. If the AAA contract was settled, why are the administrators leaving if they're required to be at a board meeting?
Administrators are required to attend one board meeting a month, and they are to remain until 9 p.m.
The contract says till 9 p.m.
There's no contractual obligation of time.
Administrators usually stay till a full board meeting in districts. I mean, we're really loosening the controls. Every district does not have a TANs, so everybody understands that. And also with this like 10-year projection, I hope you guys realize it's just a distraction of what's going on now. 10 years, I mean, what is going on, guys? I really hope you're paying attention. I do appreciate the board members that are pushing and are trying to be transparent with things. But I have to tell you, the board voted to not extend the superintendent's contract. You are obligated to search for a new superintendent. There's been nothing from that. The community's expecting that. That happened in June. I mean, this seems intentional to try and push this off as a waiting game to say, oh, there's no time. You know, Dr. Talbert, I appreciate your time here. You're a nice woman, but you know, the district has to go in a different direction. You have 10.6 million. You should definitely give it back to the taxpayers by lowering the levy to a 0. And how about investing it in students? How about giving them support? How about giving them enrichment? We never talk about students. Wouldn't that be nice?
Thank you. Any other non-agenda items? Seeing and hearing none, and I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 10:19.
Motion.
Second.
Chris Nairn is first. Carol Seehoff is second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you for coming out.